Greetings. I'm telling a tale that inspired the legend of Sleepy Hollow, written by America's first author to become famous who had Scottish ancestry, and that's Washington Irving. When he visited Sir Walter Scott, he gleaned from his library stories in the form mostly of poems, over 700 of them written by the Bard of Scotland, the ploughman's poet, the author of Auld Lang Syne, and who gave us the phrase of mice and men, and Catcher in the Rye, and My Love is Like a Red, Red Rose. And that, of course, is Robert Burns. This is his poem turned into a tale called Tam O'Shanter. Now, once upon a time, your man, Charlie, I believe his name, found himself once again in a tavern, drinking to the health, drinking to the moon, to the stars, to the songs, to the landlord's lady wife there, with his friend, Johnny the cobbler. Now, this was a common practice for the two of them. Why, every market day, they would go away and drink the ales that tasted better with each round of song. Now, this was all done in spite of certain dire warnings. One had been given to Charlie by his patient and persevering wife, Kate. "Oh, my husband, are you going to waste your time again in the tavern?" He said, "Never is time there wasted. Oh, the song, the spirit, you're just one who doesn't appreciate the goodness, the zest, the lust that is in life. You do, don't you, Johnny, there?" "Oh, yes, I do," said the cobbler, and he drank and drank until it seemed the beer would spill out of his shoes. Well, it happened, too, that they had suffered a curse by Curtin Jean. Once when Charlie was drinking with with someone from the House of Lords, and she said, "Oh, best be careful, you, when you're returning late at night from the tavern. Beware of the Alloway Church. You won't be safe from the spirits of that burnt down, once holy and now unholy place, till you cross the Brig o' Doon." "Oh, I've got plenty of spirit right here," says Charlie, "to ward off those spirits." Well, as it happens, always, the bee must return to her hive. So too did Charlie, but he had nothing so honey sweet as would the bees have. Why, he had that queen, his wife Kate, with her stinger out. But he said, "Oh, well, good night there, my good friend Johnny. I must be going." Then he looked over at the landlord's lady, and she kind of gave him a little wink, which made Charlie think he might catch a little kiss from her, something sweet and precious, before he set out on the long road back to his home, past the once holy but now unholy Alloway Church. Well, he looked out back and found that there was no kiss to greet him, just the howl of the wind and the clatter of the tree branches above him. And below him, he listened to the stones beneath the well-clad hooves of Meg. Never was there a horse with a better leg. And Charlie, unbeknownst to him, would need Meg's good legs on the ride that lay before him now. First, he passed into a valley so dark it seemed even death was afraid there to linger. But oh, death did there linger. He came by the place where a fella had been murdered, and there sat the stones where the crime had been committed. No one had since touched them. Come on, Meg, let's get by, let's get by. Soon they came upon a branch that bore a bit of rope where Mungo's mother had hanged herself. Come on, Meg, let's leave this place. We don't want any spirit of Mungo's mother coming out. On they rode, the two of them, the horse and man. But now, why, our poor fella, why, he comes upon the ditch where a couple of hunters had found an unwanted baby, but just its bones. And there the bones still were a-glistening, and on rode our fella, Charles Thomas from Shanter. He pulled down the blue bonnet just over his brow and looked ahead, and there he saw the first sign of hope on this long foreboding ride. There appeared the once holy but now unholy Kirk of Alloway. Something had burned it down. Was it a beggar one night setting a fire to keep warm, or was it the devil himself? But now, why, it had all the blaze and glory of hell itself, the light leaping through the stones and the broken glass and the remaining rafters. But, come on, Meg, said our man, Charles Thomas from Shanter. Oh, but now he began to chatter, and he reined in just for a second. It wasn't much more than that to catch fuller than a glimpse of the sight now filling not only his eyes, but his head. His head wondered what his eyes were telling him. There. Could it be a gathering? A bunch of souls there. But they're real, they're flesh and blood, and they're not doing some new cotillion or some jig from France or from England. Nay, there in the midst of them, that great, huge, shaggy dog, darker than night. It's the devil himself. Why, it's warlocks and witches. And yea, there they were, spinning and gyrating, throwing off bits of their clothes. And, just as our friend was about to set off on Meg, what came to the eyes of old Mr. Tam? Why, amongst the witches was a young, voluptuous one. Why, a flash of her thigh and bosom soon told Mr. Tom that she wore a cutty sark, a short skirt. And our man, perhaps overly fortified by the ale, got put into a certain spirit to blurt forth, "Will come, cutty sark." And it was as if the voice of the Lord on high had commanded them to stop, for they did. Why, the piping, it vanished, and so too did the dance, and all eyes turned and burned their way right up to Mr. Tam from Shanter. And then they cried, kill him, he's seen us!" And the congregation began to come after Mr. Tam, and he kicked and cudgeled Meg for all he was worth, and the race was on, and there just before our friend Mr. Tam was the brig a Doon, that bridge over a river. Now, doth you know this? No spirit, no wizard or witch or fairy kind will cross over any babbling river or stream, fearing it might send them away from this world, into a world from which they cannot escape. But Mr. Tam thought, if I can cross that bridge, I'll be safe. Ha, ha, ha! And he hit hard, but hey, them witches were coming close, and the one who had been wearing the cutty sark, she was racing, like a fiend, faster than a horse. And just as Tam clatters up over the bridge, shh, the witch's hand comes forth and grabs hold of Meg's tail. And Tam gets thrown to the other side. Blinking his eyes, blithering, yet alive. And away went the witches, unable to cross that bridge, with a fine souvenir, and for us, who may want to indulge in the drink, a reminder. Yes, Meg's tail was left cut short, and remained that way from that day until the horses die and day. And Tam, he went back to his wife and remembered. Next time, he felt a little fortified by the drink, and maybe wanted to perhaps buy himself a deeper glimpse at a cutty sark. He thought, oh, I'd best not go down that path. I remember what happened to Meg, my mare. And I think Tam O'Shanter is now all cozy with his Kate. And I hope you're cozy after this tale from Robert Burns, Tam O'Shanter. Thanks for listening.